the Miccosukes, we've all, they're like our redheaded stepchild. We just beat 'em up and kick 'em around, but they always like to capture our kids so they could learn the language. So inherently, the language is very different from each other's. But in the modern day time now, I can almost understand them. What I do is I listen for Creek words when they're talking, so I know what they're talking about. But when I start talking, they don't have a clue, you know. So, so I'll give you a sample of the words. I'm going to say, "How are you?" in my lingo, Creek, Stungo. Very simple word. How are you? Stungo. And you would say, Hitlimahi or Thigomahis, or depending, because our language is nasalized, and the Miccosukee language is very romantic, very Frenchy type language, and the same word is Chihantamo. Chihantamo. That's the same word as Stongo. I just I can say less in my language and tell the whole story than in English trying to bring the story together. So that you see the difference in the language, and yeah.
So the Miccosukee language is spoken by what tribes?
Down south in Miami, there's a group of Miccosukee.
Oh, actually
Mm-hmm. Miccosukee Tribe of Florida. See, in the day they were called Hitchiti. Miccosukee is a language that we put on them. They call themselves actually, what is it? Ilabonge. And what it means in their language is useless language, useless words. Now they call me Chishabonge, and that means the one who speaks God's language. Now, when we were organizing in '51, we chose the Seminole Tribe of Florida. We organized before they did, so we got the first shot at the word Seminole. But in actuality, the Miccosukes are the first Seminoles in Florida. When the military was referring to Seminoles, they were talking about the Miccosukee speakers. Seminole, wild ones. So, but when they were organized, they got several of the Creek-speaking medicine men, traditional men, and asked them, "What do you call us?" It was like I would ask you, "What do you call me?" And that was brave, and so the medicine man said, "We call you Miccosukee, Miccosukee," and they go, "Oh, okay." And what that means is king of the hogs. Yeah. So today, down south in Miccosukee and Miami, that's king of the hogs down there. And we're the Seminoles. So in actuality, we're not the first Seminoles, they are. We're the Muskogee speakers, and we're now we're all basically intermarried, and so we have cross language now. So those languages were used here in Florida, and the Spanish, and the British, they had already given up slavery, and so by late 1700s and early 1800s, there's going to be somewhere around 1 million slaves that's going to be brought into South Carolina, and they know that if they can make it to Florida, they would be safe. And so lots of them came to Florida, and they met up with the Seminoles, and the Seminoles had an agreement with them, you know, like a serf and a nobleman, and they watched out for each other's. So we had a truce with them, but even though the Spanish, they had abolished slavery, and so they were basically free, but the slave owners would always try to come into Florida to reclaim their possession and also try to leave with our cattle. See, Florida, if by the late 1700s and early 18, if you wanted a herd of cows, a large herd, beef cows, you had to come to Florida to deal with the Seminoles, with the cattle, and their friends, the African people, because they were kind of united in this venture, and so people would come, slave hunters would come, and it got to be a really bad thing. But then by the War of 1812, Andy Jackson finally puts the British in their place, and so he didn't have nothing better to do. So the Creeks and the Creeks had a civil war, and the Red Sticks and the White Sticks in Alabama and Georgia. The White Sticks meaning that these were sympathizers to the whites, and the Red Sticks were traditional people, and they didn't want nothing to do with the white people. They were being harassed by the chief Tecumseh in the north to join his band to wipe everybody out in the known colonies and civilizations, to join forces. And it's kind of a unique story how that happened. You know, how the Red Sticks came to be is that when Tecumseh was here, and they liked what he had to say, the Red Sticks, and but they told him, says that's good and dandy what you're saying. We need to do that, but we need to hear from God. We need to hear from God, and when we're not going to do anything until we hear from God. So by the time Tecumseh left and went back to his tribe, by then his tribe had been wiped out. He came home to his tribe in Michigan. Was the colonists had already got them settled down, and he didn't have a tribe. So at that time period, there was an earthquake, and they said that you could hear it from. It was somewhere in Michigan, but you could hear it all the way through the southeast to Alabama, and there was a light rumble, and everybody heard it. And the Red Sticks took it as God's word. That's what it was about. And then if you've done any study about Alabama's history, there's the case about Fort Mims. And that's a big fort that was ran by the traders, and the Creek people went in there and annihilated them. And so the war was on. So Andy Jackson in Tennessee, he's going to beat up on the Seminoles, or the Creeks now, you know, and he's going to tame them down and get them where they're productive people.